It looks absolutely amazing out here this morning. I have not seen something quite like this before in my whole life. You know, we've got all this really fresh spring greens and just a perfect dusting of snow. I'm at Canadian Valley State Park right now, and I think it gets a little higher elevation through the forest up here, so I'm gonna head up that way and see what else I can find. This is a creek that I've seen many times before, but today, because of all the previous rain, the water's up, and because of the snow last night, it kind of contrasts the edges and really shows the curves of the creek really nicely. And you got nice spring green foliage in kind of the closer mountains, and then in the distant mountains there, snow-capped. And then above that, fog, clouds, and a little bit of blue sky. I'm just using my 70-200 on my full frame camera, and I'm backed out all the way to 70, shooting at f/22 to ensure that I get enough depth of field from the front here all the way to the back. One trick that I like to do is to use I use the live view a lot. If you're not using the live view, you really should. Set up your composition, switch it to live view, and then zoom in to 10 times magnification and scroll around and pick a point that you really want to critically focus on, and then focus that perfectly. And then in addition to that, you can use the depth of field preview button while in live view, while magnified, and check to see, is the foreground going to be in focus and is the background going to be in focus. It's not always so simple as focus 1/3 of the way in. That's a good starting point, but if you have the time, you know, using live view to do it that way is a lifesaver, really. It's something that I always do with landscape photography, and you should definitely try it out if you don't already. I think I've got a great image of this here, and I'm gonna keep moving on. The snow is actually melting a little bit. It's like 36, 35 degrees, so as soon as the sun touches the snow, you know, it's kind of melting away pretty quick. So I think after I finish up here in the valley, I'm probably going to drive up to Spruce Knob, because I imagine there's a good bit of snow up there, so I'm excited. It should be cool. I was hoping that it would look like this, and it looks even better than I imagined. I mean, the trees are just starting to leaf out at this elevation, and I literally came around a hairpin bend, and it went from no snow to just a perfect thin coating over every single stick on the tree. These super wet snows are awesome for photography. You know, it rained all day yesterday, and because of that, as it transitioned to snow overnight, it's stuck to every little twig. Really pretty. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my 70-200 and try to find something and get started. Really cool stuff. I've never seen any conditions like this in all the time I've been photographing, so pretty lucky to be up here today for sure. This is insane. So good. So good. I've come up the road, you know, just another half mile, and it's just, everything is just completely coated in snow. It's so gorgeous. There's little bits of green popping out, especially in the understory, and man, it's awesome. So cool. You guys can probably tell there's lots of basically snowballs falling from the sky. From the branches rather, you know, it's just because it's warming up a little bit. So a couple things, you know, I want to move quickly to make sure I can explore as much of this as possible before it starts to melt off more. And I also have to consider this for my images that I'm taking. So a trick that I like to do is set up the composition, and
if it's actually snowing, if it's actually snowing, or if they're falling from the sky, or if it's raining, take a bunch of images with the same exact composition. And then when you get home, you can actually blend 2 or 3 images together, because you'll have one image that's going to have, a big white out of focus blob up in the upper left that just so happened to be captured, right when the shutter clicked. But then the next frame, the out of focus falling snow might be in another part of the frame, and then in another part of the frame. So take a few images and then pick the best one out of the bunch, open that in Photoshop, and then if there's just a few problem areas where you have the snow falling and it just looks messy, take a different image that doesn't have snow in that particular part falling, and create a layer mask and just go ahead and layer that out. All you have to do is just create a layer mask, put the paintbrush on, and just click right there, and whatever should have been in the background will just come right forward. So I do that all the time when I'm shooting in bad weather, basically. So I'm doing that today with these falling snow bits, and you should definitely try it out. It's easy. Still moving up the mountain, and it's just getting snowier and snowier. This is actually one of my favorite sections of trees on this whole road here. What I like about it so much is just that there's all of these relatively young trees that are just completely covered in lichen. They're all growing up really straight, and they're kind of spaced really nicely. That's one of the most important things when you're doing forest photography with longer lenses, is to pay attention to the spacing of the trees and how they relate to each other and fill out your composition. I actually really love to photograph a really busy forest like this. I mean, there's stuff going on all over the place, especially with the snow today. So you've got little twigs and branches going every which way. You've got lichen on every trunk. You've got lots of trunks themselves. So it's a really busy scene. But as long as you think about the spacing, pick some really good looking trunks and get them to line up throughout the frame so that it's not heavy, towards the left, and it's not too heavy towards the right. You can really make a busy scene look pleasing that way. One thing I'll do is I'll kind of walk up and down a road looking for some good looking tree trunks, that kind of seem like they have some potential, and then I'll just step to the left and to the right. And as you move back and forth, the ones in the front and the trees that are a little further back, they kind of change their relationship, and that can make all the world's difference, because it'll separate a tree that might be overlapping and being kind of heavy in the composition, so there'll be a little bit of space in between them. So definitely try that out when you're photographing busy forest scenes like this, because I think that it can result in some really, really nice images. Man, what a cool day, for sure. Super awesome. I've only gone like 1.5 miles since we first got up here. This is probably like 3 or 4 miles to the actual top, to Spruce Knob itself. I bet it's gonna be crazy up there. I've kind of seen in the distance some of the spruce trees, and they look just absolutely caked. So it could be really cool. So I'm gonna finish up here and head on up the road again. Alright guys, back in the car for now, gonna continue up the road. I just shot, behind me there was an overlook that opened up, and you could actually see further up the mountain right to the summit, and there's snow-covered spruce trees up there, there's fog whipping through, the sun is in and out. So I zoomed way in, and I think I got some pretty cool stuff looking up that way. Then right here back at the car, this whole forest here looks like it's just been whipped by snow. I mean, the trunks are all on this side completely covered in snow. So it looks really cool. It kind of really defines all the trunks, and again, super busy image, but I'm kind of into it, and I think it looks really cool. So I know I didn't have the camera with me when I was photographing these things, but I'm gonna throw the images that I just got
right after this clip right now. So enjoy this little slideshow. Well, it was absolutely incredible up there. It was unlike anything I've ever seen before, and it kind of sucks for photography, but that's all right. It was just a cool experience, you know, and half the reason I do this is for the experiences. Without photography, I just wouldn't have been up on that mountain today. I think I've got some decisions to make once I get down from this mountain. I might head back up into Canaan Valley again, where I was yesterday. There's actually some more waterfalls there that I would like to photograph this trip. And with all the rain, you know, just like yesterday, that thing's probably roaring. So it'd be cool to capture it under those conditions. So that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point. But we will see. I was just driving along, and this caught my eye. It's like a springtime garden. I already stopped and walked up there to check it out, and there's like all sorts of different flowers. It's beautiful. It's insane. It's so lush, and the stream itself looks pretty good too. So I'm gonna gather up all my gear, walk up there, try to get some shots of the stream, maybe try to do some close-ups of different flowers and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. I'm heading to Canaan Valley right now, but I am definitely going back and forth with it. My body and mind is saying, please go home, please go home, we're tired. But I guess the other part of my mind is saying, you gotta stick it through. You're only here for 2 days, so you gotta keep trying. So actually it just started sprinkling a little bit, which is good. It was sunny before, which was kind of bumming me out, just because that would mean I'd have to wait like 5.5 hours for sunset, and I wasn't really trying to do that too much. So yeah, I'm heading to Ellicala Run now in Blackwater Falls State Park. Got about an hour drive ahead of me away from home, hence the dilemma, but that is okay. That's a part of photography for me. I always struggle between the comforts of home and sticking it out, you know. So anyways, I will catch you guys when we get to Ellicala. Well, I finally made it. Trailhead is right behind me, so I'm gonna pack my gear up and go ahead and head down and see what they look like. Not only was Ellicala Run amazing, the water flow was like higher than I've ever shot it before, but it was kind of nice and clear still too. It wasn't all muddy and everything like I've seen it sometimes. It was really, really good. Inspired by that, I have decided to drive up to Bear Rocks now, which is in the Dolly Sods Wilderness. It's about 45 minutes from Ellicala, and I've already been driving for about 30, and I just got to the base of this forest road here, so I'll be driving up this to head up to Bear Rocks. Bear Rocks is actually a really cool spot. It's similar to where I was this morning in that it's high elevation. It's about 4,500 feet above sea level, and there's spruce trees up there. It's always super windy. They get more snow than pretty much anywhere around here. So I'm hoping that there's still a little bit of snow up there. The sun is in and out. There's clouds all over as well, but they're kind of whipping by. So hopefully when I get up there, I will be greeted by some amazing light and a nice sunset. And if not, I'll check in with you guys one more time and finally make my way home. I finally made it up here, and there's definitely not going to be a sunset. It's actually snowing pretty hard right now, but windy as hell and not sticking to anything. Sun is definitely going to be blocked behind these clouds behind me. I am out of here. Guys, thank you so much for watching my video. Catch you next time. It has snowed a little bit overnight, and man, it looks awesome.